with graduation on the horizon, it's going to be a great feeling to see a lot of kids take the next step in their careers. But it also makes you think about the recent success of people like Makari Page or Donovan Edwards, and of course, Maxwell Hairston. All West Bloomfield High School alumni who've recently had their dreams come true of making it into the NFL. It brings a lot of emotion to the surface, especially for those who've seen these incredible athletes at the very beginning. One of those people who's had a big jump to the college level himself is Ron Bellamy, a former NFL player himself who was the former head coach of West Bloomfield football and is now a wide receivers coach and pass game coordinator for the Michigan Wolverines. And he joins us right now on The Splash Live. Ron, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I am very, very excited to be getting into this conversation because you had a first-hand look at the early development of all the players I just said: Donovan Edwards, Makari Page, Max Hairston, even Javon Foster, who got drafted last year. What stood out about their character and work ethic all the way back in high school?
Those guys, first and foremost, before I talk about their, athletic attributes, really good people, great families, miss them dearly, being around them daily. Their constant, mindset of just making other people around them better. They understood that the more competitive we made our environment, the better they were going to be, the better their teammates were going to be. But just awesome people. And, I'm really, truly blessed for them and, happy for them and for their blessings.
That's right. You should be very, very proud of yourself to see all of the work that these guys have done in making it into the NFL. And each of these players took a very unique path to get to where they are. Could you share what you remember most about their growth journeys and what set them apart, even all the way back when they were teenagers?
Yeah, it's a common denominator, right? With all the guys is they believed. They came to West Bloomfield. That you're going to get a great education. You know that you're going to compete at the highest level, and you're going to have people that's going to support you in all your endeavors. And each one of those young men, they chase greatness, and right now they're reaping the rewards.
That's right. Each and every one of them is off to a great start, and we can't wait to see what's to come from them as they begin their NFL journeys. Now, when you made the jump over to Michigan College, you continued working with a couple of these players as they also made their way to Michigan College, including Donovan Edwards, who in particular made a very big name for himself when he was at Michigan. Did you always see that dual threat personality from somebody like him?
Yeah, I was myself and a couple of coaches at West B. We've had the kids since middle school. We were middle school basketball coaches. So I was always around Donovan. When I did my student teaching, I was around him in elementary school. So Donovan and I have always had a strong relationship. And, it's going to be weird this upcoming fall because it's going to be the first time that we have not been on the same team in 10 years.
I know, that's right. Donovan has already cemented himself and has made himself a place on the New York Jets. And another person who made the jump from West Bloomfield to Michigan is Makari Page, who's going to be playing for the New York Giants. I believe we do have a photo from Makari's signing day where you talked about how much potential he has and what you see for him in the future. What was Makari's mentality like in high school and college, and how would you say it's carried over to the next level?
In high school, the high school prepares the kids not only for athletics, but prepares them for academically and life outside of football. And, the transition from Makari and both he and Donovan was very seamless. Makari came in academically, had no distractions, although he came in during COVID, a tough period for most of us, all of us, I should say. Makari came in and he did what he was supposed to do academically, and then obviously limited the distractions. And on the football field, he played early on in his career and, just had great success. And, he's one of those guys that, he has a great future ahead of himself. And a lot of it is, his family. He comes from an unbelievable family and, he just followed the script. He believed in the people around him and, he executed everything, flawlessly. And that's why he's in a position, to craft out a career in the NFL. Love him to death.
I know Makari, Donovan, both going to be doing great things in the NFL. But of course, we also have to talk about Maxwell Hairston, first round draft pick. Maxwell Hairston, might I add, who quietly blossomed into a standout defensive back at Kentucky. Now, it's been a while since you worked with him, since he was at West Bloomfield High School. But what can you say about Maxwell's development and the kind of player he's become?
Well, I love him. I am not shocked. I am not shocked, to say the least. That's one of the things that I obviously I got a ton of calls from NFL front office guys throughout Max's draft process, because those guys do extensive interviewing and whatnot. And, especially with me being at the collegiate level now, it's like, hey, you've known Maxwell for a long period of time. What are, some of the things that make him who he is? And first and foremost, he's a great person. We all witnessed that at the draft. Although he went the latter part of the first round, you watched him congratulate all the young men that went before him. And Maxwell's always been like that. And the big thing about Max that's so cool, and for anyone listening, just one thing I always say is don't give up on your dreams. Maxwell has a unique story in the sense that he too, him and Donovan Edwards were they were middle school teammates and friends at at the middle school level. And Max was always a small guy. Basketball was his first love. And as he got older, he played football, but football wasn't on the level that basketball was. As he got older and he wasn't growing and some of the kids were growing, I remember him saying, "Coach, I want to commit more to football." And I said, "All right, this is the place to do it. We're the guys to help you accomplish what you need to do." And he bought into it, and Maxwell hit that growth spurt, got bigger, got really good at football, and went to Kentucky, picked Kentucky, and at the time I was still at WB, and just kind of helped guide him and his family through that process. And when he signed and we won a state championship, there was no doubt about it in my mind that he was going to be successful there and successful competing in the SEC. And to see him go first round, that's something that he always envisioned, and something that I thought he can accomplish.
That's absolutely right. And I talked about this when we had Zach Hilbers on the show right after the draft, where Max's attitude and his personality is just so infectious. And you saw him congratulating all of the first-round draft picks as they were making their way out onto the stage. I mean, he's already shown the kind of player that he is, and I cannot wait to see what he's able to do as he plays for the Buffalo Bills in the NFL. Now, Ron, you're in a very unique position because you have also had some NFL experience. You had some time playing for the Miami Dolphins and even the hometown team Detroit Lions. As somebody who's played in the NFL, what do you have to say on what might be next for some of these players?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is find your role, create a role for yourself. Understand that this isn't like college. This is a business, 100% business. And, the NFL is always looking for who are the best players that can help my organization win for the various organizations the guys are on. And the advice that I told all our guys, we have, 7 guys that play for West Bloomfield are currently in the NFL. And, the one thing that we told them was, make sure you keep your head on tight and just make sure you limit the distractions, have fun because it's still football, but, go out there and compete every day, have an open mind, compete and dream, dream big. Because usually when you dream, you can chase them and you can accomplish anything you put your mind to. And, I'm proud of all the boys that that are in the NFL and the ones that are in college, and just go keep chasing your dreams. We love them, and they know they're going to have our support.
I love that. Those are the true words of a football coach. For those just joining us right now on the Splash Live, I'm talking with Ron Bellamy, the former head coach of West Bloomfield High School football, who now works as a wide receivers coach and pass game coordinator for the Michigan Wolverines, talking about his thoughts on so many West Bloomfield High School alumni making the jump into the NFL, like Donovan Edwards, Makari Page, and Maxwell Hairston. Now, I'm curious, Ron, have any of them reached out to you for advice or just to say thank you as they take this next big step into the NFL?
Yeah, I try to do a good job of keeping in touch with them daily, all of them. Whether it's Matthew Judon, Khalid Kareem, Tristan Jackson, Javon Foster, and, just the new batch of guys that have entered the NFL. I talk to all of them, daily. We talk about life. Some of them are old enough now where they're having their own families and, getting married. And just trying to get them some advice from, they always looked at me as a big brother, uncle, father figure kind of guy. And, just because they're in the NFL and they're removed from high school doesn't change that. The one thing I always told our young men, and, was we're forever connected. We're forever connected. We're always going to be a family. I'm always love you guys. I'm gonna follow your paths, not just your professional paths, but your personal, your life endeavors. And I love them extremely. Each and every young man and young lady. We've had a few young ladies in the program that have entered, have played in our football program. I love them dearly, and I follow them all to this day. On the various social media sites. And each young man kind of has his own thoughts about things and advice that they ask. And, I give them things experiences that I've gone through or things that, I've heard about. But, it's their path, their journey. I told them I'm here for them, just I'm an ear, or if I need to make a phone call, that's easy. So they know that, we're always going to be connected.
I absolutely love that. You're helping these kids out every single step of the way. And I'd imagine not just the West Bloomfield alumni, but everyone who's come to University of Michigan that's going to the NFL, like Blake Corum or like J.J. McCarthy, all big names that are sure to make an impact on the NFL. Ron, I could talk to you for so long about this topic, but we are running short on time. I'm going to wrap this up with one more quick question. How proud are you, not just as a coach, but as someone who helped shape their foundation, to see all of these athletes chasing their dreams at the NFL level?
Extremely proud. I've had some great mentors in my life, some great coaches, great teachers, just a great community around me. And those young men had the same thing, and still do. And I'm extremely proud of them because, everything that we asked of them in high school, they did. The things that we told them they're going to be challenged with at the collegiate level, they answered to, and the cool thing about it was I have personal relationships with each person that it was bumpy, right? Nothing was totally smooth throughout their careers, but the guys face adversity and they answer to it. And this day and age, man, a lot of people they face adversity, they run from it, and our guys attacked it. And I think that like I said, I keep going back to the family foundation. Each one of these young men has a strong, family bond, and they have a strong faith. And these guys, they kept that first and foremost. We always say faith, family, football. And, those guys have answered that, and that's why they're in a position playing at the highest levels. And, I'm praying for them each and every day that they enjoy the experience. Like I said, it's their jobs now, but they understand that it's a blessing. Less than 1% of the population consider NFL football players, and, they're there. So now just, get to work, embrace it, and have fun, and then play it as long as you possibly can.
That's absolutely right. A lot of hard work to do, but they can celebrate right now for what they've been able to accomplish, and they have you to thank for all of that. Ron, thank you so much for joining us today here on The Splash Live.
Thank you for having me. Miss and love you guys, and, continue to follow you.